Howard University's Wellness Collective. Our guest expert this afternoon is Dalila Bothwell. Ms. Bothwell is a graduate of Spirit Rock's Community Dharma Leader Program. She served as Deputy Director of New York Insight Meditation Center for nearly a decade, where she learned the priceless value of community and the role relationships play in embodying the teachings and creating kinder human beings. With a formal education in food and nutrition, her practice meets at the intersection of physical and emotional well-being, being Black and queer, and love of recovery, nature, community, and justice. I have to add that for 2 years, she has served as my mentor while I was completing my teacher certification in mindfulness and meditation. Welcome to our Wellness Collective, Dalila. Her topic is Try a Little Tenderness on the 10,000 Joys and Sorrows.
Thank you, Dean Richardson. It's good to be with you all today. I'd like to begin with some practice. And this will allow us, both you and me, to arrive in this virtual space together, check in with why we're here. And so I invite you to find any posture for your body that's supportive and comfortable, that allows you to be awake and at ease. Your eyes can be open or closed. And if you're at the computer or if you're making a meal in the kitchen, I'm sure it might be lunchtime for some of you, take a moment to, if it's helpful and available to you, to take a few deep breaths with an audible or vocal exhale, joining the mind and body in the breath. So, breathing in, and breathing out. I invite you to really sense into the body in this space and time, sensing the soles of the feet, the in and out of a soft belly, the sit bones on the chair, cushion, or couch, the spine in contact with the back of a chair, possibly. Notice any energy or sensations in the throat, neck, jaw. Sensing into the top of the head. And feeling this body as it is right here, right now. And be, simply be, breathe, nothing else to do. And I invite you now to recollect your intentions for being here. Why are you here? What are your intentions or aspirations for whatever practice, whether contemplative or spiritual or non-spiritual? What are your aspirations? What or who is your North Star? You may have an answer or answers arise and you may not. Both are okay. The invitation is to live and breathe and be with that inquiry. All right, now I'm going to ask the question of what does freedom look like to you? What does it feel like in the body, in the heart? What colors or visions arise? Does the body move in a particular way when freedom is present? What do the eyes see and the ears hear? When you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can open your eyes. Take in your surroundings, maybe just looking around, above, below. Move the body as needed. Hydrate. So thank you for taking that time with me. So I was telling Dean Richardson, I never know what to offer when presented with an opportunity like this, and especially so far in advance. And so what happens is I have to ask myself, why am I here? What do I consider freedom in this moment? What is my North Star? And for me, freedom in part exists in feeling and having access to feelings, to emotions, expressing them in healthy ways and sharing them, honoring them, taking care of them. So author and also my North Star, Audre Lorde writes, "The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The Black goddess within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free." I'll read that again. The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The Black goddess within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. And that's the inquiry I've been living in the past few months. I feel, therefore I can be free. So the translation of the word sati, S-A-T-I, in the language of Pali, Pali is the language in which the teachings of the Buddha are written, is widely translated as mindfulness. And I don't use this translation much in my life and work. I use the less used translation of sati as remembering or recollecting. And so for me, the awareness practice of wellness, of healing, of wholeness are one of remembering freedom. Maybe a freedom we have yet to experience, yet to know, an internal or external freedom that we're currently experiencing, or freedom that's no longer there. And as I said earlier, freedom is in the feeling and having access to these emotions. The feeling in this very moment, remembering all of my humanity. And part of remembering our humanities and accepting the realities of this very life, the ups and downs and in-betweens, the 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. Clearly seeing that life is not without its challenges and appreciations. We don't have one without the other. So in this time of sheltering in place and many deaths from COVID and from non-COVID reasons, because the circle of life continues, a separation from friends and family, colleagues, and everyday human interactions, there's a lot to feel or to not feel. And for me, some of the sorrows and griefs that I have lately are not being able to hug my parents. I moved here, I live in Arizona, in Tucson, so not yet having local community since I moved here right before quarantine, and not being able to grieve in person with others and attending online memorials and funerals. There's also the appreciations, the joys of experiencing a warm desert winter and plenty of sunshine. It's hiking in the mountains with my dog, Briscoe. It's a dear friend giving birth safely and healthily to her first child. It's dancing in the kitchen with my partner. It's having some contact with friends on Zoom. It's naps and food delivery and podcasts. So this is where I often think of this book by the poet and author Ross Gay. He has a wonderful book called Book of Delights, where for a year, from birthday to birthday, he decided to write about a daily delight. And just some of the most mundane and simple things were in that book. And so I highly encourage you to read that book. So now I invite you to participate and to list in the chat, or if you're more comfortable mentally or on a piece of paper, some of the joys and sorrows that have arisen in your life lately. So it could be not having regular interaction with your work family or going to a coffee shop. So what are some things that are bringing you joy and some things that you possibly might be missing? It could be an activity, a sensation, or maybe it's a constellation of both. Someone writes, it's been really sunny where I live. I enjoy the natural light. I do too. Thank you. Saturday morning walks at the National Arboretum. Thank you. Are there any small things, or not even say small, just some things that you might be missing while sheltering in place? Not being able to hang out with my classmates and peers my own age. Yeah, I hear that. Joys listening to music and going on walks. Joys waking up seeing the birds and plants in the morning while I drink coffee. Yeah. Thank you all for sharing that. So these joys and sorrows, they're meant to be felt and honored. Until we deeply feel these emotions and allow them to flow through us, they will hold us captive and they will follow us. This is no longer freedom, right? So we live in a culture that pathologizes sorrow. We're told that this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening, there must be something wrong with me if I'm sad, or fill in blank with any uncomfortable emotion. And usually the solution offered to us is to buy something or to numb out. Hello, social media and doom scrolling, right? So this is a direct effect of our cultural conditioning. And nuance, complexity, subtlety, simply being with what is not part of the good, bad, right, wrong binary that's part of our culture, right? So these practices of awareness called mindfulness are a bit of a misnomer. I'm just going to make a side note here, because they're about the whole experience, not just the mind. It's for the heart and body. And the first foundation of mindfulness, of awareness, is the body. As the body is the vessel through which we experience life, through which flows through us. I often use the word bodyfulness. And the root teachings of mindfulness found in early Buddhism, the translation of the word chitta has been given mind, but many Buddhist teachers and early translations used heart mind. So it's also heartfulness, right? So we practice awareness of, can be adjusting our relationship to what is. We can practice freedom. We can practice remembering by surrendering to what is right here, right now, in the body, in the mind, in the heart. And I'll say briefly that surrendering is more of a letting go. It's imagine playing tug of war and then simply dropping your side of the rope, right? We let go. So we let go of our walls, of the stories we've been told, the stories we perpetuate that keep us from what the Black goddesses tell us about freedom. The cultural, societal, and familial stories that tell us there's only one way to feel or a correct way to be, where nuance and complexity is dismissed. Bonnie Wills, the restorative justice facilitator, says, our power lies in our defenselessness. So this is the path to freedom, to fully embrace our humanity so I can fully embrace yours. And part of that embrace is knowing that our wholeness and well-being doesn't depend on external circumstances, on these joys and sorrows, because one thing we know for sure is that the only constant in life is change. Life in this realm, in this body, will have its joys and sorrows no matter what we do personally. We will age, our loved ones will age, illness will occur, friendships and relationships will be forged and fall apart, our bodies will change, and none of it's personal. This is what happens when we come into this life, into this human body. So knowing that impermanence is characteristic of this life, and as the poet Rilke said, that no feeling is final, can we allow joy, peace, contentment, and gratitude to be here, knowing it will change? How about frustration or melancholy or boredom? So the dis-ease, the stress we experience in life often comes from grasping and attempting to hold on to something that is ever changing, or from pushing away an experience that is here to be acknowledged. So the question to you is, do you see these truths of joys and sorrows, constant change, the constant flow of emotions and sensations, pleasant and unpleasant, in your life? Do you see these for yourself? I've been reminded recently about the song This Joy I Have by Shirley Caesar. It's having a renaissance because I've seen videos, at least in my circles, my community, a version by the Resistance Revival Chorus. I suggest you check it out, it's lovely. And part of the lyrics of This Joy I Have is, this joy I have, the world didn't give it to me and the world can't take it away, right? So as you see from my mention of the Shirley Caesar song and from the title of this talk, when I was asked about what to speak with and how do we meet these joys and sorrows with our life, in our lives, I thought about the song Try a Little Tenderness by Otis Redding. And not necessarily the lyrics, but the song title. And so whatever the joys and sorrows that we're experiencing, and all the colors and nuances of life in between, can we allow them to flow through this body, mind, and heart tenderly? I'll share 2 quotes with you. Once again from Audre Lorde. We have to consciously study how to be tender with each other until it becomes a habit, because what was native has been stolen from us. Excuse me. Then there's a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, Zen master and peace activist. Do not fight against pain. Do not fight against irritation or jealousy. Embrace them with great tenderness, as though you were embracing a little baby. Your anger is yourself, and you should not be violent toward it. The same thing goes for all your emotions. So here we are, again, remembering the parts of us that have been conditioned out of us. Excuse me. We're reclaiming the tenderness, our birthright to allowing all the movements of the heart. And this is where we begin to practice nonviolence in this very significant way, beginning with who we are right here, right now. So when I invited you to envision freedom at the beginning of our time together, how did the heart feel? Was there an ethics of care and kindness towards yourself? So I'd like to end a little bit with a little bit of practice, where we'll practice a little bit of tenderness with ourselves. So once again, I invite you to stillness and whatever easeful, supportive posture you find your body. No need to move too much. Connect with the breath in the body. Once again, taking a few deep breaths, allowing the belly to be soft. And breathe, feeling the in and out of the belly or the rise and fall of the chest. And sense into the length of the body from the bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. It could be from the top of your head or to the tips of your toes. Knowing that there is a body. Allow there to be a gentle awareness of whatever sensations, emotions, or thoughts that are here. Lightly, like a butterfly on a flower. And if it's supportive to you, you can place a hand on the belly and or heart. If you do so, notice what arises in the heart, body, mind. I'll offer a few phrases you can use to offer kindness and care to your direct experience now. You can try them on and see what works for you in this moment. So you can say out loud or quietly to yourself, I see you. I hear you. You are welcome here. This too belongs. And if you like, you can add dear one or friend or love to the phrase. So I see you, friend. I hear you, dear one. I care for you, love. So I'll give you some time to try those for a minute or so. So when you're ready, you return to the screen, into your surroundings, your room. And just a note, you can practice with these whenever you remember, because that's mindfulness, right? It's remembering. It's the remembering to remember. And it's best to do these when you're not necessarily in a stressful situation or in the throes of an emotional storm. I rebuild these muscles under more easeful circumstances. So when you remember when you're washing the dishes or walking the dog, or just so happen to be, on the couch and you remember, oh yeah, let me check in with myself, right? I see you. I feel you. And this is where we begin to practice the tenderness and the freedom right here, right now with ourselves. And so that's what I have for today. Thank you. And I'll now offer that remaining time to Dean Richardson.
Thank you so much, Dalila. Boy, what a great exercise and what a great talk. Do you have time for me to ask you just one question?
Sure. Yeah.
What advice or suggestions you can give, particularly to our students who are struggling right now, trying to deal with being socially isolated? What additional advice, I should say?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part.
I should say what additional advice, because what you've given us is just fantastic.
Well, one, to not expect too much from ourselves. And I've shared this with you, Dean Richardson, about how being sheltering in place, my brain isn't as productive as I like. I need more lead time, and to be gentle with myself. Right? We're in a pandemic. Even if we are relatively fortunate, like being able to attend class and pay bills and have a job, we're still in a pandemic. And to really acknowledge the small, and I say small in size, but just really significant ways in which this, how the body responds, the mind, body, nervous system responds to this stress, right? And it may not feel stressful. I know even now the joys feel a little bit tampered down and dull, then they're still there. So to really acknowledge that this is part of life and there's nothing wrong with it. And to be gentle with ourselves, care for ourselves and not expect too much from ourselves. Allow ourselves, as I said, to be fully human, to be like, oh, this is hard. It's hard, right? As much as fortunate as I am, this is still hard. And also, reach out when you can. Community is the best, one of the teachings from the Buddha is that he says that community is the whole of holy life, right? And so if you can group text, have a standing phone call or something with somebody, not necessarily Zoom, because you might be zoomed out, right? Good old-fashioned analog phone call. And sometimes just being with another person, right? And being with ourselves. So for me, the biggest lesson I've learned is to not expect too much for myself.
Well, thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but we're looking forward to your next visit. That's a little hint.
Thank you, Dean Richardson. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.